Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Flight 108 of Jyotish Airlines, where we're headed to the 10th house, destination, profession, and career. Guys, have you ever wanted to be able to predict a person's career before they tell you? Like if you're reading the chart of someone and you say, you're an engineer, you're a doctor, you're a lawyer, you are a janitor, or you're unemployed, or you own your own business, or you work for the government, or you make over 100,000 a year, or you make less than that. Well, how much you make, we already did that class. That was called Indu Lagna class. I can show you. Go to decodingvedicwisdom.com. I won't show you here. Decodingvedicwisdom.com. The class is called Indu Lagna, to judge the karmic potential for prosperity. Today, I'm going to talk to you about what type of career you can expect. And I have a confession to make before I do that. This has never been a specialty of mine. My specialty is something adjacent called dharma, finding your purpose in life, but not specifically related to career necessarily, but to what is the general direction in my life. And of course, I've written several books, The 5 Dharma Types, Sex, Love, and Dharma, The Dharma Method, and so forth. And Gambler's Dharma, which is in a very interesting way about the powerful gamble everyone has to take, the risks you have to take to do what is right for you. Because Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, whether you're Hindu or Christian, doesn't matter. These are words of wisdom. Shreyan swadharmo vigunaha paradharmat svanushthitat. Better to be bad at what you do than good at what is bad for you. Now, the rhyme there is mine, but the interpretation is pretty damn close. Meaning that you can be a fake person and do what your mother, your father, your society expects of you, but that you know is not right. And even if you succeed at that, Krishna says it is bhaya vahaha, it is full of anxiety. You will constantly have fear and anxiety because you feel like a fake, versus doing what you're born to do, what is your dharma, what is your right livelihood. Now, on my YouTube channel, I've got tons of videos about dharma and so forth. Check them out, they're free. I also have free video on career. In fact, let me show that to you, on how to find your right career. And that is also free. It is called Introduction to Vedic Astrology. Let me find that here. Here is the video. Introduction to Vedic Astrology, Part 4, the career method. Now, this has, in my opinion, not nearly as many views as it should have, because they're golden nuggets that I share in this video of one specific technique, which is the planets in the Kendras. If you don't know this technique and you're out there paying for classes, you need to know this technique. It's free and it pays dividends. However, it is one of 12 total techniques that I will be teaching in the Career Intensive, which I just had up. Now, the Career Intensive is a 10 to 12 class course that is going to be live, that you can ask questions in class. You can email me questions, and I respond if you're a student in the live class. Typically, I don't respond if you take the class afterwards, but I still try to fulfill that. So it's 10 full lessons, and we'll go over if we need to. As a bonus, we cover education, because guys, if you don't know the level of education, how can you predict if a person will become a lawyer? Because to be a lawyer, you need a certain amount of education and postgraduate education. To be a doctor, architect, so forth. Certain jobs don't require formal educations, others do. So you need to know the level of educational potential before you can predict, oh, this person is an architect, right? So that's a bonus that we'll be covering in this Career Intensive. And if you're a member of my channel, my YouTube members get huge savings. They get 30% off of this course if you're level 3, 20% for level 2, and 10% for level 1. But in addition to that, I've given away thousands of dollars, I think tens of thousands of dollars worth of classes and value and cash to my YouTube members. So honestly, if you're not a member yet, I don't know what you're waiting for. It's $2 a month. It's $2 a month. Level 2 is $5. Level 3 is $25. And you get 40 times the value just this month in the amount of savings that you get. So you can save, I think, $90 this month just for paying $2 a month as a member. It's a no-brainer. Yeah, I don't know why I don't have that many members, but if you're serious about learning Jyotisha, maybe that's why, because most people aren't really serious about diving into Jyotisha. I have so many additional videos that are only available to members. But if you are serious, or even, curious, hey, what is this Vedic astrology about? Becoming a member for $2 a month gives you access to a whole bunch of other cool stuff. So here is that career class. And of course, I have a bunch more. You can go there for free. But let's dive into some techniques. So in this course, I cover one technique. Today, I'm going to show you another one. But there are a total of 12 techniques that you need to master, and they're not very difficult, before you can accurately predict career. And earlier I mentioned that predicting career has never sort of been my forte. And the reason is I was never a person that wanted to just impress the client and say, okay, this is what you do. I just asked them, what do you do? Right. And then we can move on to other things. But I will admit that there have been times when it would have been really good for me to know. So what I've done in the past couple of months is I've gone back to all of my notes, all of my techniques from my teachers that you're not going to find on YouTube, you're not going to find anywhere else. And I'm going to share all of those, everything. I'm opening up the bag so you guys can benefit. So check out that class, Career Intensive. My members get significant savings on this. So go to YouTube, click join on any of my videos, and you'll become a member. That doesn't mean a subscriber. So it means a member. So that's a different thing. All right, so let's get to the career method. So in the Jyotish Shastra, you will see a number of techniques, but they're all very vague. Why are they vague? Well, ladies and gentlemen, there are over 8 billion people on the planet, and predicting career, especially these days, is harder than it has ever been, right? Because there's so many different jobs, so many variations. Even within one company, there's 360 different roles that a person can play or more. But one technique from the Shastra says, if the Navamsha dispositor of the 10th Lord is planet XYZ, then the profession will be keyed, will take the form of what that planet rules. So for example, what is this Navamsha dispositor? If you're coming from Western astrology, we have these subcharts or harmonic charts. The Navamsha, Navama Amsha, the ninth division. Amsha means room or division. Navama means ninth. Nava Amsha, the ninth division, means, or the ninth harmonic, which is typically used to decode relationships. But you can see from this technique, it also, you can decode many other things, including profession and general life circumstances. Anyway, the ruler of your 10th house, when placed in your Navamsha, falls in a particular sign. The ruler of that sign becomes an indicator of your career. So let's say the ruler of your 10th Lord falls in Aries in the Navamsha. Then Mars becomes the key to your career. But can you say to a person, oh, you're going to have a Mars career? What does that mean? Am I going to be a policeman or policewoman, a race car driver, a surgeon, a soldier, an athlete, a murderer, a cook, someone who works with fire, a knife maker, a weapons maker, right? There's so many options. And they're in various different fields. In the restaurant field, in the military, in medicine, in government, politics, in athletics, and so forth. So clearly this technique is not enough. Unfortunately, the Shastra doesn't give us a lot of other options. So again, that's why I'm doing this class, to give you the full detailed description. But if you can't make the class, I will share one very important method with you today. So so that is the problem. The problem is also that you need to determine the level of education. Now, I think I do have a free video on YouTube on education, but again, in this course, I'm going to cover the full pro forma for judging whether a person has education potential and how high they may go. Again, not required to have a happy, successful, even a wealthy, prosperous life, but required to, for us as astrologers, to understand the type and the specific career a person will have. Make sense? I hear a question. Yeah, Simon, but what about, can't quite make it out. Please put it in the comments and I will try to answer it. I do answer my members' questions first. So if you're a member, just throw it out there. All right. So it truly does begin with understanding your Dharma type. If you're an educator and you're working in a laborer's field, you're going to be messed up. You're going to be that person who is being fake and not true to their true Dharma. And I do find this a lot, believe it or not. Or if you're a laborer working in an educator field. If you're a warrior functioning as a merchant, you're messed up. If you're a merchant functioning as a warrior, messed up. Sorry, but that's how it is. Now, why do I bring these examples up? Because in my book, 5 Dharma Types, I go over the direction of integration and direction of destruction for each Dharma type. It's not just that you know, okay, I'm a warrior, great. No, warriors integrate into educators and they disintegrate into merchants. So you can read about that. So to become a better warrior, you need guidance, information, and so forth. To become a better merchant, merchants integrate into laborers. You need to become more grounded, understand the true value and worth of things, and so forth. So first, understanding your Dharma type. What if you don't know your Dharma type? Very easy. Go to spirittype.com, spirittype.com, spirittype, not spiritualsingles.com, although you can go there. It's a great website for spiritual singles, spirittype.com. I am trying to initiate a conversation with them to incorporate our compatibility protocol, Delano, which would be an amazing thing for them and for us. But anyway, that's a little aside. Spirittype.com, there is a free Dharma type test. This is my old website. So you want to click on the Dharma test and it'll take you through a quick questionnaire. And as it does, you will learn your likely Dharma type and the life cycle that you're in. I won't go through it now, but this is spirittype.com, my old website. So let's get back here to the presentation. So knowing your Dharma type and your life cycle goes a long way towards helping you discover your true direction in life, not necessarily your profession, but your direction. And if you ever feel like you're slipping, it'll help. It's like the rails that keep you guided. Okay, let's make sure we're going in the right direction here. All right, so what's next? What's next is to understand your core character. So this is where we get to the nitty-gritty. Are you a fundamentally conservative person or a fundamentally liberal person? Now, this has the least to do with your profession, but it's something to consider. Are you more fit for private sector employment or government employment? In fact, are you fit for employment at all or working for yourself? This is called independence versus dependence. For example, I have a very independent kind of chart. Barack Obama is a dependent, or I should say the president of the United States. So independent isn't any better or worse than dependent. It's just a different style. Dependent means you work for a law firm, for the US government, for whatever, and you get a salary. Independent means you rely on yourself, sales, having your own business. You're a singer or a songwriter, entertainer. You go out and play, you make money, you work for yourself. You get it? And there is a middle ground where you can have a, like, let's say you're a waiter, you can get two bucks an hour plus tips. That's mostly independent, but you still work for the restaurant. Or you do sales and plus commission. So that's called what I would call high class, or what not what I would call, what my teacher Hart called high class dependence. That is an in between ground. And I'll show you some of the techniques to find that. This is, in my opinion, the most important thing to find out first. Before you do anything else, doctor, lawyer, or whatever, find out, is this person dependent or independent? Now, there are two significant ways to do it. One is through understanding the planets that affect your first and 10th houses. The second is to understand the power of the houses in your horoscope. The 10th house versus the 7th house versus the first house. Today, I'm going to go into part of that in my career class. I will disclose the full technique, the full pro forma for doing that. But I will give you enough to work with here today. So let's finish this. What about standard professions versus the trades? What are the trades? Plumber, electrician, barber, hairdresser, hairstylist, nail salon, whatever. A trade is a specific skill that you work. That trades are the third house in the horoscope. So I'll give you a hint. One of the ways to know, generally speaking, is to see which house is most prominent in your chart. Which house has Shakti, has the good yogas, the good planets, okay? Is it 10th house, which tends to indicate dependence or government work? Is it 7th house? Is it 3rd house? Is it 1st house? Okay? Each of those will give a different nuance. Then when you layer the planets on top of it, you truly begin to get a picture. And sometimes that picture is confusing. Like, you're a very independent person, but you're in a dependent job. And that creates tension. Or you would prefer dependence. You just want to clock out at 5 p.m., drink a beer, and not think about work. But you're forced into running your own business. That also creates tension, right? So the point is to find truly where your dharma is, because dharma is flowing with the stream of your life versus swimming against the current, which is always bhaya vahaha. It's full of fear and anxiety, okay? So then, innovation. Are you an innovator, inventor? Are you like, who is this guy? What do I have up here? Nikola Tesla. Is this you? Or are you more like this guy, Warren Buffett? Or are you more like this, who is both independent, has strong independent qualities, but also dependent in some ways? So, but in terms of innovation, where do you sit on the innovator line? So these are all things to consider. Then, of course, the level of success. And I did mention that in my Indu Lagna class, we did talk about the level of financial prosperity available to you in any given lifetime. Also, in our Lucky Times class, we discussed yogas and special combinations for financial success. So you can check those out for sure. But that is another consideration. So let's dive in with whether you are, quote unquote, independent or dependent, meaning entrepreneurship. This is a word that most Americans mispronounce. Entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur. It simply means undertaking. In French, it means someone who undertakes projects, who does new things. Entrepreneurship versus employment. So I made a YouTube short on this a while back, but it was too short, I think, for a lot of people to get. So let's dive into it. Sun, Moon, and Mars are the independent planets. I'm not going to get into specifically why that is, but based on their character, they are. Saturn, Venus, Rahu, Ketu are dependent. Now you're going to go, wait a minute, Rahu, Ketu are wild and they can't be controlled. How are they dependent? Yeah, exactly. They are, it's hard for them to be steady enough to have an independent, steady and focused enough to have an independent kind of career, unless Sun, Moon, and Mars are also involved. Okay. Then Mercury and Jupiter are what I termed earlier a high class dependent. That is commission plus salary, or something in between pure entrepreneurship and pure employment. Now, how does this work? Excuse me. Here's how it works. When the sun, moon, and or Mars influence the first house, your ascendant, they indicate an independent nature by character. When they influence your 10th house, they indicate an independent style of employment, meaning the type of work that will come to you, that will attract you, will be independent entrepreneurship. Okay, so there's a qualitative difference between your ascendant and your 10th house. And again, sometimes there can be a conflict, whereas you're very independent, but your 10th house shows only dependent planets influencing, and vice versa. So Saturn, Venus, Rahu, Ketu, if they influence your first house exclusively, then you are more inclined to do that person. Hey, look, I want to clock out at a certain time. I don't want to think about work. I'm done. I want to go on vacation and not, have to think about paying my employees and my filing my independent taxes and blah, blah. Oh no, what a headache, right? There's no judgment here. One is not better than another. It's just what is right for you. Isn't this amazing, guys, that we can, and you can pinpoint this in less than a minute by looking at someone's chart, right? And there's Harvard, all these universities do these long questionnaires, 3 hours of answering questions, and they still don't get it right. Why? Because you can also see what the person is running. If they're running their sun period or their Saturn period, that will incline them towards what Saturn is pointing to in the chart for that period. What if their Saturn's just about to end and they're about to enter Mercury, which for different reasons is going to point towards independence in their chart, let's say it's exalted in the 7th house. Then that 3-hour survey you just did is going to be right for another few months, and then they move into a different period, right? With Jyotisha, you can see it plainly in less than a minute. You can make that snap judgment. Isn't this an amazing opportunity? I mean, I'm just blown away every day by how an average person, you and me, can look at any person's horoscope and say the qualitatively valuable things about their lives that psychologists train for 10 years, to become a 10th of as good, or counselors. And I'm not saying our profession is the best. I'm saying that the instrument, the tool that Jyotisha is truly shedding light on our lives, light on life. That is the name of the book by Hart Defoe and Robert Svoboda, that started it all, light on. And if you don't have it, you absolutely need to get it. Now, there's also a book by the same name by Iyengar, also a good book, but very different theme. And you will not learn any astrology from there. I don't think, actually, but I haven't read it. But Light on Life is this book by my teacher, Hart Defoe. And you do need to immerse yourself in that if you want to learn astrology, this art. So back to career. So if Sun, Moon, Mars influence your first and or 10th house, independence. Saturn, Venus, Rahu, Ketu, dependence. Mercury, Jupiter, high class dependence. So let's go ahead and take a look at an example chart. And in fact, I'm going to pull up a chart. I'm going to do something different. I'm going to show you a way that you can actually use this technique to even rectify a chart. And I'm going to do this just for fun because, everybody can pull up examples showing that their techniques work. And of course, we're going to have plenty of examples to go over in the class, but I want to share with you something interesting now. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I have pulled up the chart of Mr. Beast, YouTube influencer, the epitome of independence, right? Working for himself from the beginning of time and doing his own business career in a very innovative way, very lucrative way. Now we have a birth date, May 7th, 1998, time unknown. Oops, I forgot to talk into the mic. Here is a chart of Mr. Beast, extremely innovative person, extremely wealthy person as well, from pure independent work. We do not have his birth time. So let's take a look. I've pulled his chart for 12 noon. Can we use these simple principles? In fact, let me pull up his main chart here. Excuse me. Can we use these principles to rectify the chart just by looking at it? Because there should not be an ounce of dependence in this person's chart based on the fact that since a very, very young age, he has worked for himself. And so let's take a look. So it took me less than 5 minutes to really suss out that now again, I'm not going to spend an hour. I could spend an hour rectifying this, but as an intellectual exercise, let's just use this to move the ascendant around. Let's see, this is not letting me for some reason. Okay. Let's try this again here. Come on, Pio. You can do this. Not letting me do it. Okay, let's try it here. Tools, change time tools. Sorry, guys. Let's play the Jeopardy music. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we have a chart. Take a look. Now let me pull up the South Indian as well. This is an approximate time. I'm just pulling up the ascendant. So what I see here is the chart of a person, first of all, who has massive wealth and prosperity combinations, but who also has a strong and independent streak in his chart. And that is an Aquarius ascendant. Now you're going to say, well, wait a minute. He has Jupiter, the NK2, neither of which are an independent planet. What are you talking? Come on, Simon. Yes, that is true. Now, to me, again, looking at him, I believe he has to have Jupiter either as aspecting or in his ascendant. He has a very Jupiterian nature. Whereas most people covet having a Lamborghini to drive, he covets smashing them and giving them away to people, showing that he absolutely doesn't care about these perceived notions. So he's an outsider Dharma type, K2 in the Lagna, okay? But also having Jupiter's aspect. So this on kind of a general, in a general spiritual way makes sense to me. Now, it may or may not be true, but for the purposes of Jyotisha and this sort of intellectual exercise, just follow me here. The way we do this pro forma is we look at the ascendant and the ruler of the ascendant. And once we look at the ruler of the ascendant, which goes to the third house, Lord of the first in the third, if you read Brihat Parashara or Shastra, the classics, they'll say the person will be a go-getter. Oh, but wait, Saturn's debilitated. Yeah, it's debilitated. So he may have started out slow, may have doubts about his own self-worth and so forth, all of which are true, I'm sure, or I believe. Nevertheless, look at the two planets with his Lagna Lord. Exalted Sun, powerful Mars. These are the two independent planets right on the ruler of his ascendant. So now that skews definitely towards independence, doesn't it? The fact that Lagna Lord is in the third with two powerful, powerful independent planets. Okay. What about the 10th house? Well, the 10th house has the aspect of Mars. And the ruler of the 10th house is with that exalted sun. And yes, also Saturn, but primarily in heavy independent influence. So this is a way, I think this is a great example, actually. And this beautiful Lakshmi Yoga style combination he has in the second house is just absolutely gorgeous. But that's another topic. So Um, what was I going to say? So this is an example of being able to judge a person's chart based on their character and their history of employment to see if they're independent or dependent. Now, I did say that this is just the first part of that technique. The second part is to judge which is the strongest house. Now, obviously, the third house for this person is extremely active, extremely powerful. But in the career intensive class, I will go into this technique. It will take a little more time to explain. But when we look at that method, then career independence becomes even more eminent. Even though there are definitely seeds of dependence as well. So at some point, um, you know, that may play out as well. But right now he's running Rahu. He will then run Jupiter. So that dependence probably won't be until he runs Saturn and to whatever degree. So he has run in his life. Look at this, the Shah sequence. So again, the sequence is Moon, highly independent, Mars, independent, and participating in these. And Rahu gives the effect of the sun, right? This is posited by the sun. And then Jupiter. So I hope this makes sense to you, and this illustrates the planetary method of judging independence versus dependence. And please don't underestimate the power of understanding the person's character. Then for entrepreneurship, the seventh house must be strong, and there's certain criteria. It has to be stronger than the 10th, but also the first house has to be involved, and so forth. We will go over those techniques in the career intensive. I hope you guys can join us there. Go to decodingvedicwisdom.com. Check out that class. If you are a member, you'll get 10, 20, or 30% off, depending on your level of membership, which pays for your membership several times over. So consider doing that by clicking join on this video, and we will see you in the next one. Hariom.